Thank you so much for participating, contributing to this body of work, and working alongside with us to make sure that folks on the inside of these facilities have access to community. They have access to opportunities to demonstrate their scholarship and show it, to the field. And, conversely, thank you for engaging with folks on the inside. Our goal is to really help destigmatize the people who are incarcerated and help humanize them. And so we treat this conference as an awareness campaign as well. And also to set precedent for corrections across the US to continue to think about how we can get access to technology and internet inside of prisons for incarcerated learners. So with that being said, this session again is on work-based learning and remote work opportunities for folks while they're incarcerated. And I'll just give a brief overview and then I'll pass it to Natalie. But this is a body of work that we've been deeply committed to exploring and normalizing nationally for folks who are incarcerated across the US and even beyond. And this idea really emerged as a result or on the back of COVID at a point where COVID almost overnight shut down in-person teaching inside of prisons across the US. And as a result of that, we also saw a few things change globally. Things like remote work became normalized, um, as well as technology coming inside of prisons to kind of support the fact that people weren't able to teach inside and in person anymore. And so prisons were scrambling to make sure that folks who were incarcerated still had access to education. And so we saw hybrid classes, virtual classrooms, Zoom, and these sorts of setups happening inside of prisons. And once that happened, that was a huge cultural shift inside of prisons because for a long time, historically, access to technology and internet inside of prisons has been something that's just you know, hasn't been allowed or it's been viewed as something that is a threat to safety and security and has been something that's just difficult to pull off. So we saw that as an opportunity to say, hey, remote work is being normalized, technologies inside of prisons, Pell is about to be reinstated. Um, how can we leverage this all of these events into something good? And so um, one thing that we care about deeply here at the Alliance is quality of education, not just post-secondary education and access, but making sure that it's quality. And so making sure that education on the inside is comparable to that on the outside is a priority of ours. And then there's language in the Pell regulations that indicate job placement, job readiness, reentry metrics, and things of this nature. And so a common quote in this field is that reentry begins at day one. And so, as somebody who's worked on the reentry side and helped thousands of people come home from prison and reintegrate into society, I've seen people come home after doing 10, 15, 20 years in prison with no money, no work history, and struggle to, find employment and support their basic needs. And so remote work became a topic that just jumped to the top of our priorities. I talked to close to 1,000 students in my first 18 months working here, and one of the recurring themes was that I'm going to get my bachelor's, I got my master's, and I have 10 years left on my sentence, or I have 5 years left on my sentence. What do I do with this degree? How can I apply it? How can I put it to use? And so we started to think, hey, how can we start to look at remote work and just work-based learning opportunities in general, internships, fellowships, practicums, capstones, these sorts of things, and make those available to people on the inside. And so we piloted a few of these with a few states. Kansas and Maine were the first states that we piloted this with. Shout out to Dr. Chris Fanning. I see you in the audience over there. She was a huge champion that was willing to make this opportunity available in Kansas. And so we launched a couple remote work opportunities where um, the Alliance ourselves, well, at first I was like, oh, let me tell all these employers and tell people about this, and it'll be really cool for somebody to try it. And people kind of looked at me like a crazy man. I'm a little bit crazy sometimes, but in a good way. So I thought, well, I'm the director here at the Alliance. I don't have to convince human resources or anybody else to let me do this. I can just do this on my own. So we, put out some job applications, put out some feelers, and started receiving some submissions from folks who were incarcerated. And I said, I want to bring on people onto our team who are currently incarcerated to inform our work, to uphold the integrity of our work, and what better people, how would our organization be true to our work without really centering those voices who are of people who are incarcerated. So um, we brought people on board. We paid them $25 an hour. We built work configurations around their access to technology. And we kind of launched this initiative. And now we're pushing this nationally to expand these opportunities in every state. So there are a lot of implications around this. Just think about people being able to come home with money they've earned, they've worked for, they pay taxes on, and they can come home and pay for their own housing. They can pay for their own transportation. They can pay for their own basic needs. They don't have to be dependent on the system um, just to survive. And so, people can come home with 10,000, 15,000, $20,000 that they earned, right? Um, and so that makes the reentry process way easier because we know recidivism is sitting at around 70% nationally right now. So um, we're doing a lot of work around this research currently with American Institutes for Research to understand the landscape of what's possible, understand what's feasible, and understand the policies and the legal implications and barriers that are in place right now and how we can address those. So remote work is one side of it. And then for places that don't have that level of technology, we also have been working with states who provide some of these work-based learning opportunities for in-person work, where people are still getting paid 15 plus an hour and they're not working prison industry jobs where they're either not getting paid at all or they're getting paid 60 cents a day. So again, the implications are wild. I mean, can you imagine a world where 10,000 people come home a year and they have $20,000 to their name? How that could alleviate state budgets, how that could alleviate wraparound service and reentry centers to provide more intensive support to people who have more intensive needs. So really stoked to just talk about this. We've made a lot of advancements in a very short time, and that's due to people buying in, people being willing to advocate and change the culture of what corrections looks like. So just want to thank you to everybody who's kind of championed this work and has been willing to open up these opportunities to folks who are incarcerated. And just one quick nod, one of our fellows, Victoria Scott, she worked with us while she was in Maine, and she was able to save a substantial amount of money. So before she was even released from prison, she was able to pay for her apartment in full, I believe 18 months in full before she was even released, furnish that apartment, as well as just support her own reentry. So that's just a quick snippet of what it can look like for folks because we know that people are coming home and they go straight into homelessness. They're living in shelters, they're living on the street. And so here's an opportunity to help people find jobs upon release, even before release, as well as, have some financial stability to help support that reentry too. So pre-release employment is where it's at, and that's what we're going to keep pushing on here at the Alliance. So I think I've already gone over time, so I'll stop here and I'll pass it to you, Natalie.
Thank you so much, Fed. That was great. Appreciate you all being here. Um, I'm going to jump right in. I have the great privilege and honor of introducing two wonderful colleagues, Krystal and Michael, who are participating in this national initiative called Education in Action that Ved just introduced. I'm going to jump right in. I have a wonderful introduction. Please join me in welcoming Krystal Lowe, a student at Washburn University pursuing her bachelor's degree in integrated studies. She is passionate about growth, connection, and using her voice to make a meaningful impact. She approaches every opportunity as a chance to learn and uplift others. During incarceration, Krystal has served as an active parenting class facilitator at the Topeka Correctional Facility. She has delivered speeches at the Kansas Governor's Conference for 2 consecutive years, sharing her story of motherhood while incarcerated while navigating the foster care system. Krystal was also one of 6 women to pilot the National Lullaby Project in Kansas, an initiative from Carnegie Hall that gained recognition through statewide news coverage. Currently, Krystal is part of the Work Release Program, serving as an Education and Action intern with the American Institutes for Research in partnership with the Alliance for Higher Education in Prison. Her position marks the second of its kind within the Kansas Department of Corrections. A fun fact about Krystal: she asks so many questions that people joke she should have her own talk show because she believes that the best way to grow is to never stop wondering. Next, we have Michael Stayer, a powerful voice for transformation through education and lived experience. Within the system, Michael earned a Bachelor of Science in Organizational Management from Grace College and completed advanced STEM coursework in web development and audio and visual production at Ivy Tech Community College. His journey includes Inside Out courses at DePuy University, focused on ethics and transformational leadership, and one at Indiana University where he studied mass incarceration. He also participated in the Indiana Prison Writers Workshop using creative writing as a tool for healing. Currently, Michael is a resident at the South Bend Community Reentry Center and works with the Institute for Social Concerns at the University of Notre Dame and the American Institutes for Research in partnership with the Alliance for Higher Education in Prison as an Education and Action intern, continuing his commitment to expanding access to transformative learning opportunities. A fun fact about Michael: he's completed 2 service dog training programs and holds a federal certification as an animal trainer. He often jokes that the dogs taught him far more than he could ever teach them, a reflection of his deep respect for connection, trust, and the unexpected lessons life has to offer. Absolutely beautiful. I want to welcome you both. Thank you for sharing this time with us today. We're going to turn it over to you both so that you can kind of walk us through your academic journey and your journey in education and action. I'm going to turn it over to Michael. He's going to kick us off. It's all yours, Michael. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Natalie, for that introduction. It is great to be here, and I'm so excited to share my personal journey and transformation with all of you. I thought I would start with a little bit about my educational journey and then transition into kind of how this opportunity came to be for me and go from there. So in 2009, my life collapsed, sending me to the Indiana Department of Corrections for an extended sentence. At that time, I really didn't know much about the criminal justice system. And quite frankly, if you asked me where a prison was in Indiana, I couldn't tell you. It just absolutely wasn't part of my life. And, but somehow I found myself on the inside. And I distinctly remember sitting at Pendleton Correctional Facility in cell 21 on 3F, thinking about what my life would look like after incarceration. I had no idea. Would my life ever have purpose again? Would I ever have a career or a job or an ability to help anyone? I just had no idea. So many of these thoughts were swirling around in my mind. But I knew 2 things. I knew that 16 or 17 years down the road that I was going to re-enter society again. And I also knew and believed in the power of education. And the great thing about education is when you achieve education, it's something that you keep. It's yours to keep. It can't be taken from you. And the great thing about education is it absolutely helps to level the playing field and opens up new pathways and possibilities that couldn't exist without it. So with that in mind, I knew that my path to reentry was to take hold of every educational opportunity I could seize in the Indiana Department of Correction and create success for myself every step of the way. And ultimately, it's that educational journey is what brought me to this point today and to this call with all of you. So I'll start with my bachelor's degree from Grace College. I started back in 2009, 2010 at Pendleton Correctional Facility. They had a higher education program, and Grace College and Ball State were at the facility. I chose Grace College, and I worked hard to achieve my bachelor's degree in organizational management. And after that, I went on to complete a Department of Labor apprenticeship as an office manager. So I wanted to continue to expand my skill set in education as I, worked through the department. And after that Department of Labor apprenticeship is when I came into the animal trainer apprenticeship, which was an exciting time for me. It was an opportunity to expand my skill set and absolutely think about options that may have not existed prior to that education. And so through that journey, that took me to a point when I got transferred to a medium security facility. And I was kind of trying to find my way at that facility. And lucky enough, the Indiana Department of Correction had a partnership with Ivy Tech Community College. And they were in partnership with an organization out of California called The Last Mile. And I participated in a web development fundamentals program where I learned how to write computer code and build apps, which is really hard to believe in the incarcerated setting. And then I spent time after that class in the audio and video production program. So I learned how to mix and produce music and edit videos and handle video post-production. So that took me all the way up until the point when I had roughly 3 years remaining on my sentence. And at that point, I could request a transfer to the South Bend Community Reentry Center, and which I did. And I had to wait for a bed. And then eventually I was transferred up to South Bend Community Reentry Center. And that's where a lot of things kind of changed. The South Bend Community Reentry Center is a place that helps reintegrate people 360 degrees back into the community, where they work on volunteer opportunities, various reentry programming, and then employment. So I was now at a place where I had all this education that I had achieved over my incarceration, and I was looking for an opportunity now to see if I could put that into use in my reentry period. And after being at the center for maybe a few months, I was approached with an opportunity for what was called the Education in Action internship. The warden approached me and asked if it was something I was interested in, and I had not heard about it. So I took an opportunity to read about what the internship was. And I first learned that it was involved with the American Institute for Research. So I did some research on the American Institute for Research. And then I also looked at my life and my transformation and how powerful education was in my transformation. And then I looked at the opportunity to come on board and join the fight to bring more higher education programs to people across America. And so I was at a point where I had this opportunity kind of in front of me that brought a lot of purpose, that could bring a lot of purpose into my life. So I came back to the warden and said, absolutely, I'm interested. And in order to do this opportunity, we also had to have a higher education in prison partner. And so for me, there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Cunningham, who is with the Institute for Social Concerns with the University of Notre Dame. He had approached Warden Bowen, and he was offered to be my partner in the technology space and to kind of basically help me navigate this process through this interview process and the internship. So I was on board. I posted for the job. I interviewed for the job, and it felt like forever. And finally, I got the opportunity. I got the email that I was offered the position. So we were at a point when, that was super exciting, but we were at this crossroads. And this is really kind of an interesting point here, because I was trying to figure out where this internship was remote, and we were trying to figure out where we could do this internship. And so Jim and I got together with our facility and the warden and talked about how we could do this with the Institute. And through some negotiations, through some, I guess maybe I'd say troubleshooting is not the right word, but through some negotiation, we figured out an opportunity for me to come out and work at the Institute for Social Concerns out here at Notre Dame. And it's been an absolute dream of mine to be at Notre Dame working with the amazing people at the Institute for Social Concerns. Some of the work that I'm doing through the internship is the internship consists of 12 grantees across the country, and we're working in partnership with American Institute for Research, in partnership with some of these grantees, and conducting research on how we can remove barriers and bring more higher education programs in prison across America. So I'm working on a team working on trying to bring more technology access across the country. And I'm also working on a team that does academic research to answer questions and deliver rapid responses to our grantees so that they can work through their projects and get their projects to pilot stage. So it's really an exciting time to be in this opportunity and to have really, like Ved was saying earlier, an opportunity to save money, to prepare for my reentry, and to do meaningful work. And I wanted to just take a moment to talk a little bit about the Institute for Social Concerns and their willingness to kind of allow me to work alongside of them. And ever since I've been out here, my first day was July 23rd, and I've always felt part of the team out here. And the Institute for Social Concerns does amazing justice-based research and across the world. And they work on issues such as poverty, mass incarceration, labor, migration, all kinds of issues. And I get to work alongside some of the most talented, most kind and compassionate people. And I've always felt part of the team out here. And initially I was nervous, but now after being here, I feel so strongly that my work matters, my experience in life matters, and it's valued. And I really feel like the work I'm doing does a lot to push the mission forward here at the Institute for Social Concerns. So it's just been an absolute dream of mine to be here, and the opportunity has just been great. I also wanted to take a minute to recognize the South Bend Community Reentry Center within the Indiana Department of Corrections. As we negotiated this opportunity, it was really a progressive approach on how we were able to handle this. And it took a lot of people kind of working the details out, but the staff was absolutely wonderful, and their willingness to think about all the things that could go right and to think about how we could provide new opportunities and expand into places to provide like new work assignments for people. And it just happened to be a good timing for me. And I definitely took full advantage of that. And I also wanted to recognize the great people at the American Institute for Research. So ever since we came on board, I'm sure Krystal herself will talk about it, but I've always felt welcome there as well. I've always felt part of the team, and they've done an excellent job of trying to get us involved and to see and to assess our needs and to figure out our a short and a long-term plan for us so that we can be successful while we're in this internship and then long after into our reentry. So I just want to say how appreciative I am of them. And then last, but definitely not least, my partner, Krystal Lowe. I wanted to just recognize her before she speaks, that I'm so happy that I'm working with you, and I'm so proud of you. And you're just doing some amazing things. And I'm so glad that we're on this journey together. So with that said, I wanted to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Mike. That was so nice of you, and what a good transition. That's awesome. Okay, well, I want to start by saying hello. Thank you so much for having me here today. I want to just recognize Alliance for Higher Education and this opportunity for this Incarcerated Scholars Conference. It's absolutely amazing. You know, so many people have come together to participate and to, watch and, interact. It's an amazing thing that I've witnessed here these last couple of days. So I wanted to say thank you so much for that. Let me be a part of it. So for my story here, I think I'm going to begin by talking about how life-altering it was to be sentenced to prison, right? So when I was sentenced to 54 months in prison, it felt like I had lost everything. I lost my freedom. I lost my control over my life outside of the walls. I even lost the sense of who I was as a person. It became very overwhelming. It's very emotional. Everybody knows, the impact that it has on the incarcerated individual themselves, but also the impact it has on our families that are continuing to live life out in the real world without us actively in it, right? It's emotional beyond description. It had felt like in those moments that my life, my story had been put on pause, had been, ended. There was like an abrupt barrier, ran right into it, right? But that wasn't the case, and it's not the case for every justice impacted person. Our stories can be rewritten. With our determination, we absolutely can change our outcome. So for me, prison became that reset button. It wasn't an ending. It was just a chance to pause, reflect, to rebuild, and to keep growing. I want to take a minute to acknowledge that the struggle inside of the facilities, the institutions, it's very real. It becomes very easy to lose sight of your purpose. It's real easy to fall into the negativity or get stuck in the way of thinking, what's the point? Why are we even trying anymore if we are being seen as our label, as our convictions, as the time we have to serve? What are we doing any of this for? And my personal experience, I fell into that real hard right at the beginning. I knew that I had my children to live for. I had my family that I needed to go home to. But it's so easy to fall into, how am I ever going to get past the label that has now been put on me? I realized a few months into incarceration that my choices still mattered. What I do every single day, the person I choose to be every morning when I wake up, absolutely decides who I am going to become, the path that I'm going to choose to take. So, like I mentioned, in those first few months, a lot of awakenings happened, a lot of self-reflection. When I signed up to, apply for college through Washburn University, which is my affiliated education program, I had to wait several months to even, hear back from any, or not necessarily hear back, but at least a few months before the ball got rolling on enrollment and FAFSAs and all the fun things that come with like our Pels and everything that was regranted to us. It was very overwhelming, coming from a place where education was not known outside of incarceration. It's not commonly talked about out in society as much as it might be inside of our carceral settings. Living everyday life out in the real world, education was not known to me as something that was a possibility. And then inside the facility, it was widely talked about. Yeah, we can do college, we can sign up, we can enroll the associate's program, and how awesome all of those little sparks are that start happening. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. That sounds like something so much bigger than what I'm doing, so it's definitely something to thrive or strive for, right? I hadn't been in school in years. I definitely doubted myself. There's a lot of things that come with education, especially from the standpoint of not having had any type of education for a long time. You have to realize and kind of get in the habit of learning the academic language, how to even write a paper, MLA formatting, all the things that come with education. Over time, you definitely start to believe that you can do it. You definitely start to understand that everything is a learning process. We have our curves, we have the bumps in the roads. We can keep moving forward and getting to where we want to go. Within my facility, Topeka Correctional Facility, the classroom environment, the women that are all thriving towards the same goal is an overwhelming, amazing experience to have these people around us that all want the same things. Having that peer-to-peer contact that we can talk about the same type of assignments, what certain instructors, professors, comparing either or, things like that. It definitely makes the environment engaging while I am actively going through this education process. It's very true that so much is taken from us when we become incarcerated. They take, our time. We're at a standstill, our independence, our autonomy. But the one thing that even our prison sentences cannot take from us is our education. And when that happened for me, it was such a light bulb that I can keep growing. I can gain this knowledge, I can gain this confidence, and it all belongs to me. No system or no person is ever going to be able to take that from me. So it absolutely made me feel like I had purpose again. It gave my days some more structure. It gave me a reason to get up, to have something to push forward every single day. With this newfound purpose, of course, led to so many doors opening that I never imagined could even open, specifically in a facility setting, in an carceral setting, but also just for me personally. As a person, I had no experience that really made me confident in simply even applying for the position that I'm in now, but absolutely went for it. I was approached or talked to about the Alliance for Higher Education Fellowship that was implemented, put in place in the Topeka Correctional Facility a few months before we found out that the Alliance and the American Institutes for Research had partnered to put like an application process out for this internship that I am currently a part of, the internship for Education in Action. I submitted my resume, took the time to, put everything together, put it out there, got all the permissions, got granted those yeses from the people that mattered. We put it out there into a nationwide pool of applicants. I think that part is crazy, even today when I still talk about it. Every step on this journey brought me anxiety, new anxieties every single day. So many floods of what ifs. What if I really am good enough and I get to go through these interview processes? What if I'm not? And the answer is no, no harm in trying. So I absolutely had to dig deep in myself and make every moment of it worth it. Went through the first few interviews. The Alliance, in partnership with American Institutes of Research, recognized my value. For the first time in a long time, I had felt seen. I absolutely felt like somebody acknowledged all the hard work that I was doing, and they saw the potential that was to come, that could come, right? So I was asked to be a part of this internship. It was so exciting. It's still so exciting to this day. It's absolutely unbelievable. I have so much hope for the future. I really started believing in my self-worth. I started believing in every single thing that is possible, not only in the Topeka Correctional Facility, but in every facility around the nation. If us in Kansas are able to do something like this, do groundbreaking work and open paths, anybody can, right? So just a little tidbit about my actual internship, what I do on the day-to-day basis through Alliance for Higher Education. I know I've mentioned this several times. I work directly with the American Institutes for Research on a 3-year initiative. It's labeled Identifying and Scaling Higher Education in Prison. For me, in layman's terms, I would say this project aims to identify, refine, and expand like the different resources that are within the higher education prisons, programs inside prisons, to meet the students' needs like nationwide. We're not just, inside Kansas, it's everywhere throughout the nation. And that in itself is a little mind-blowing fact. When we started the onboarding process and learning how big the actual project is, how big American Institutes for Research reaches, like the umbrella aspect that we talk about all the time, it's an eye-opening experience. Specifically, my type of work that I get to sit here and do every day ranges from like research and data tracking to like organization of content, a little bit of project management basics, like learning the roles and who does what, and note taking, some things like that, communication and advocacy. It's super important, the advocacy part there. I get to contribute to something so much bigger than just myself, and I get to use my lived experience as a part of like reentry and student preparation and all these things that I have personal experience with in my journey. So I'm specifically working right now within the student preparation work stream, where we're helping just implement and helping with some guides and whatnot that are going to be really important and really big milestones within the higher education programs in prison. And I'm so grateful every single day to even get to be a part of the team, where I get to sit in with all of the amazing people that help me feel included. They give me the tasks to work on. We're all one big team. Like Mike said, it's such an honor to get to work with everybody. I am learning transferable skills to take from this on-the-job type training that I am doing right now to move into my career for all the time to come, right? So I just want to acknowledge, so to say, that I'm not naive enough to believe that every single incarcerated student or individual is going to have the same opportunities that have arose like in me and Mike's situations, but I am so optimistic that we are a part, like we are a huge part of paving the pathways for breaking down the doors and breaking those barriers, that we're going to open up these opportunities so for like so many more determined scholars to come after us. And it's not just about me. It's not just about Mike. It's not just about this internship. It's about every incarcerated student who dreams beyond their circumstances and knows that there's so many things that are possible. Education for me absolutely rebuilt my confidence. It rebuilt my voice. It proves that I am more than my mistakes. It empowers me to be a better person every single day. And with this internship, with everything that has come for me, prison has been my reset button. And I do believe that anything is possible. The facility setting is not the ending. Every new beginning still has a chance to be awakened. And I am so grateful for everything that has been gifted to me. I have worked so hard to get to where I am today, and I am proud to be the person sitting here to show the nation that this is possible, that incarcerated students, incarcerated scholars can work remotely online and become so successful, be successful and be a part of change. So thank you for so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for believing in second chances.
Fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you both for just what a powerful reflection of your journeys. Thank you for sharing your growth and your purpose, your vision, your hope, your dreams. And you both reaffirm what this work is all about. And thank you for sharing this with us. I have a really deep feeling that this is not the last time, we're going to hear the brilliance of Krystal Lowe and Michael Stair. I think that they are absolutely paving a trail, a road, a pathway for many, many more to follow. I believe that, this initiative, the Work-Based Learning Initiative, Education in Action, we've been able to see the brilliance of Sean Libby at the conference, who works with Jobs for the Future. We've also seen Erica Orta, who works with Vera, and now we see you both working with AIR in partnership with the Alliance. And there are many more, and many, many more will come. I would like to transition into a bit of Q&A right now with you both. Feel free to build off of each other's answers. We're going to have a nice little conversation now. So I'm just going to jump right in. Our first question is, education in action opened a door that didn't exist before. Where do you believe that the next door should be opened, and what is the next evolution of this work?
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure. I would love to see more incarcerated individuals in positions just like us across the country. If it can happen in our two scenarios, it definitely can happen in other scenarios. And I think hopefully this is an example of all the things that are possible. And it's a willingness for people to talk, and a willingness for people to think about what can happen instead of what can't happen. And so that's what happened in my situation. Is I had the right mix of partners to come together and think of all the things that could happen. And so that allowed the opportunity for me. I also would like to see technology. It's been a big passion of mine. So the more technology we can bring inside, the more opportunities we can to expand the educational reach and expand access to even more remote opportunities. And lastly, I would like to see these opportunities turn into full-time opportunities. So we're in an internship period, but how do we move an internship from an internship to actual full-time opportunity, right? So that's where I would like to see the evolution. And then we're talking about, because we know one of the biggest predictors for success is employment. So, and it's one of the things that still weighs heavily in my mind as I look to my release next year. So it's how do we take these opportunities and turn them into full-time opportunities?
I love that. Thank you for that, Mike. That's great. Krystal, do you wanna
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Yes, I do absolutely agree with everything that Mike said. Those are all real big points to touch on. My concrete answer for this would be any incarcerated scholar, incarcerated student that has the determination and the drive and the willpower to be a better person every single day and strive for greatness and all the things that come with it, to have the opportunity for when job opportunities arise like this, remote work sites, to just not only be posted for a few individuals, but be posted for like mass majority within the facilities. I think that's a really big one. I wanted to touch on the topic of KDOC, Kansas Department of Corrections. We did not know what all it entailed to have this type of work-based opportunity be available for me in particular. So when I accepted the job and we got all the confirmations that we needed, we still didn't know what type of technology was needed, how much access to internet and computer time was necessary in order to have the full experience, what all was needed for that. And so they were able to put me in an office, a workspace downtown, where it opened the access for the 4 or 5 days a week to be a part of the team. Yeah, and I think that is something that all Department of Corrections could look into.
Absolutely. Krystal, thank you. Thank you, Michael. And I just wanted to give, a quick shout out. I see lots of KDOC on the call right now. I see great support from Notre Dame as well, Washburn University. And this is how these things happen. It's like-minded people having the vision, making the decision that they're going to move forward and beyond barriers, regardless of what the typical norm was, what the typical culture might have looked like in a facility. We've gone above and beyond that and dismantled these types of barriers. And what you see before us as a result of these forward-thinking people, the opportunities that you have, Krystal, the opportunity that Michael's had. And so I just wanted to give kudos and big thanks to the leadership that is on this call and supporting these two individuals. I also wanted to shout out AIR. I see folks from AIR on the call as well, and big recognition there. Thank you all for supporting these two wonderful colleagues of ours. Let's move into the second question. What do you hope remains after your time as an AIR intern, and what legacy do you want to leave for future incarcerated professionals stepping into this space?
You want me to? I guess I'll field it first.
Sure, Mike. Yeah.
Before I answer that, I wanted to say one thing, if I could. And with the Institute for Social Concerns leading the way, paving this opportunity for me, and some of the behind the scenes work. And what was so critical is I didn't know, Krystal, if you were going to talk a little bit about it, but the Institute stepping out, giving me this opportunity, helped bring an opportunity for Krystal to be at Washburn University. Initially, that wasn't going to be the case. So just that willingness to lead opened up a possibility for her. And so now us two, and hopefully we'll open up new opportunities elsewhere. So sorry to diverge on that question, but I just wanted to say that I thought that was a real neat thing that happened in this whole internship process. So as for legacy, it's hard to think about a legacy. Like right now, every day I think about the power of now and how I can do the best job at the Institute, the best job for the American Institutes of Research, the best job to represent the Indiana Department of Correction and the South Bend Community Reentry Center. So every day I take at a time, and I work hard to do a good job, and hopefully that will create a bunch of opportunities for people that are coming behind me, seeking opportunity as well. But I do hope that this opportunity remains, and I do hope that more opportunities branch off of this. And someday I'll look back and be like, hey, I was the first one to be able to do that there. So, but I do hope that continues. So, and I think it will. So.
Thank you, Mike.
It is always so hard for me to follow Mike because he says all the right things. That's okay. I sure will try. I think when it comes to the legacy that I want to leave for the future incarcerated professionals, is that anything is possible, right? If you have the strength, the determination to go after it, we can accomplish anything, especially together with wonderful administration backing everything that is within reach to become accomplished. I think it's so important to say that this is a chance for every incarcerated individual to pursue education with these higher education programs, right? It's our chance to not just survive our incarceration, but it's a chance to thrive throughout our incarceration. And so with that, I just want to say that education can be a stepping stone for almost anything. And I have used my education as a stepping stone into this opportunity. And I'd like everybody after me to recognize that you can go anywhere, that we can be anything, and that our label is not forever stuck.
And can I add?
Absolutely, Mike, please.
And I just want to also add this. I think it's important is it's not lost, and I think I could probably speak for Krystal on this too, but it's not lost on us of who we represent and how important that education has been in our personal journeys. And so every day we fight for all the justice impacted individuals across America, trying to unlock that access and increase access and remove barriers. So it's brought tremendous purpose back into my life, and I know it's brought tremendous purpose back into Krystal's life too. And so I know that we are both so honored to be able to represent that community and hopefully make some impact and bring more opportunity across the country. So.
Thank you, Mike. All right, it looks like we have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to come in with another question. So you've shown that leadership, civic leadership, does not wait for physical freedom. What is leading from confinement taught you about power, purpose, and community? If you can share that with us, I'll give you both an opportunity to speak on that. And if there's any last morsels, gems that you'd like to share with our audience, please do that. Please do that.
I can always go first this time if you
Go
want
ahead,
me to.
Krystal. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I sure
All
will.
right.
Okay, so not waiting for physical freedom. In my correctional facility specifically, work release is housed kind of just in a separate area, dormitory area, but we're not off grounds per se. You know, it's all still kind of there with the general population. So you can see the picture in your head, right? That I still mingle with all of general population every day. There are so many questions about, well, what's your job? What do you do? Where do you go every day? You know, and then the transition, like anything, in like a community-based living environment, they know, the people know when something happens, when something changes, like where you've went. And so I have found that purpose to explain what it is I'm doing and get to see like light up in people's faces, like, oh my gosh, you're really doing that. I've gotten to sit down with ladies and talk about the possibilities, these doors that have been opened, and how much it's going to pave the way for everybody to come behind me, and how much the administration is working towards great things. And just, I can't even like describe how many women are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You know, it's such a good feeling just to be a part of spreading that optimistic personality, right? We can do this, we can do anything. It's pulled me into society, you know, it's given me a space in the community. Absolutely. And as far as like the power part of that question goes, I don't, you know, you guys know this about me. I don't think I have much power per se, but I do want to shine light and shine goodness onto all the opportunities I have and everybody else that cares to listen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Krystal.
It's hard to follow me. It's hard to follow you, Krystal. Jeez. I would say for me, leadership and what I've seen over the years is, from a confinement perspective, some of the best leaders are those willing to be vulnerable and to have the courage to be vulnerable. And it was absolutely, what's the right word, scary to come out here for the first day. So, but that vulnerability led to opportunity. That vulnerability also was contagious amongst some of the other residents as well. So I would say you have to have confidence, but you also have to be vulnerable, and you have to be willing to put yourself in situations that put you outside your comfort zone. As we're talking about reentry, right? We're going back into the world. So I'm in all kinds of situations that have pushed me. The Institute has pushed me far outside my comfort zone. And so I've grown tremendously, personally and professionally, just because of this experience and working with these amazing professionals that surround me every day. So if you're in a setting trying to work yourself out, think about vulnerability and thinking about having the courage to be vulnerable.
Thank you so much, both of you. Oh man, we're almost out of time. I want to say this. I want to say there's a woman that I highly admire and respect, and what she says is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go in community. And I hope that what we've done is create community in the last 2 days. And beyond that, the two of you speak truth to power. Power is in the love, power is in the empathy, in the community, in the honesty, the vulnerability, the integrity. I see that from you both, and I learn from you both. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us in this closing session. Such gratitude and respect. I'm going to turn it over to Ved. Thank you.
Make sure I'm off mute. I just got to do a little dance because like that was just like amazing. So just got to do that. This is just amazing, successful. Um, Everybody here has an opportunity to hear from Krystal and Michael about some of the things that this is going to help them with in life. Returning to the community with a level of confidence, work experience in a professional workspace that they can that'll help them find gainful employment. And think about just imagine coming home without having these sorts of opportunities and then trying to be thrown into a workplace the second you leave a prison and navigate workplace norms, workplace culture, deadlines, things like that. They've had an opportunity to acclimate to the work setting and also build that confidence, feel like they belong. And they get to work with an organization like American Institutes for Research. Like, how more legitimate can you get, right? So, and they've been able to contribute significantly. So, just kudos to you both for being vulnerable and being willing to take on an opportunity like that. I knew when we put together a job description and put it out there, I was like, this is going to be intimidating. But I've been incarcerated, I've been around incarcerated people, and I know the level of talent and skills and the rigor through which you all go through education, and how serious you take it. So, this is a demonstration of just what's possible and what's going to be the reality because the Alliance isn't going to stop pushing on this. We're going to continue working on this until it's normalized everywhere. So just thank you again to everybody who came to this conference today and got a chance to and yesterday and got to experience um, what it's like for folks on the inside to put that education in action. And we will be using this conference not just to elevate the work of the field within the field, but to get this into the hands of the general public. So folks, so we can expand the support that we have for this field and for this work. So we have, a great lineup of scholars that anybody could see the human behind these walls. So again, just thank you to the Alliance team. Can we bring the Alliance team on to the spotlight really quick? Because I need folks to use those react buttons. I mean, these calls with Zoom, hundreds of calls with the victim services, public information office, corrections, proxies, day and night, triaging tech, like everything. We've done this for the last 9 months, 10 months almost, and I've just put in endless work. So this is a team that has done that. And I've been very strategic in hiring, and these are some of the most passionate, empathetic, and serious people when it comes to this work to have representing the field. So thank you, Alliance team, for everything you all have done. I wouldn't choose anybody else to work with. I put you all up against anybody. Again, thank you to the Mellon Foundation for supporting this conference. They invested in the idea that I had a few years ago around this, and they were just excited to support it. So, thank you for the support there. And then thank you to all the scholars, um, the artists, the poetry, the research, the storytelling, and the resilience to be able to put something like this together from the environment that they're in is remarkable. Um, Thank you to corrections for being willing to be a part of a culture change, being willing to have a risk appetite, being willing to be that person in your facility that says, you know what, we're going to try this. I don't care what you say. We're going to do this and I'm going to continue to push on this. So thank you for corrections because I know it's sometimes can be risky to try to introduce new ideas and new culture. So thank you as well. Thank you to the prison education programs, all the proxies, everybody who worked on the back end to work with us and work with the students. All of this is voluntary. Nobody had to do this. You all chose to do this, and you chose to help bring the scholarship that's happening in these classrooms more into the public eye, and you were willing to go through all of the hurdles, all the tech, to make this possible. So thank you to you all as well. Um, and just it was a great conference. So a couple takeaways for me really quick. I think as I mentioned victim services and public information office, one thing became apparent to me throughout this conference. Um, when we talk about survivors is that we have to also remember that the people who are inside of these prisons a lot of times were and are victims too. These are people who are survivors of very egregious things as well. So a great quote that sits with me is hurt people, and heal people. And so I see a lot of healing happening through education, and a lot of trauma being addressed through education because people don't have access to counseling and mental health as extensively. So people are able to self-educate, and this education has led to a lot of healing. So thank you for that. Um, and just on the last piece around work-based learning, I know we're over time, so if you gotta hop, I know you gotta pick up kids and get some food and use the bathroom and do all that. But a couple things on work-based learning. Krystal brought it up, being a parent who's incarcerated, thinking about the opportunity to make money while you're incarcerated. Send that money home to support kids, family, pay rent, pay bills, utilities, pay for a car, pay for food. These sorts of things help the kid not have to go into the justice system themselves because when they're missing a parent and when they're missing financial resources, they are also vulnerable. So I think about second chances, but I also think about first chances. And the kids are also victims of the system when their parents are incarcerated. So these opportunities have very, very tangible, concrete outcomes for more than just the individual. So thank you for that. One other note, people who are incarcerated, they're eligible for federal work study. So if somebody's in a prison education program and you want to have somebody as a student worker, a teaching assistant, a grad assistant doing work study, they're eligible for federal work study. So that's something, we're working on. Happy to talk about that at some point, but just a couple things I wanted to leave you all with. So cheers to belonging. Cheers to making people who are inside know that they have a space out here. They have a community that's operating on their behalf. And cheers to a successful conference and to everybody who showed up. So thank you all, and we'll follow up via email, social media, YouTube, all that stuff. Follow us. We have our national conference on higher education in prison happening in Cleveland in April. Check that out. And engage with us in all kinds of different ways. We're doing all kinds of cool creative stuff over here. So just look forward to staying in contact and community with you all. Until next time, happy holidays.